welcome to another episode of Coming Distractions. I am your host, Micah, joined by my co-host, Carrie.
What's up?
And Carrie, you and I are the only people who will admit to liking Pokemon.
It's true.
On this network. You recently saw the latest Pokemon film, MewTwo Strikes Back Evolution.
I did.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this is on Netflix. This released on what is referred to as Pokemon Day, which is February 27th. That's the sort of franchise anniversary date. That's when the original games came out in Japan. Mm-hmm. So this actually came out first in Japan last year for like the 20th anniversary of the first movie. Mm-hmm. It is a remake of the first movie, but with 3D CG animation rather than flat traditional animation.
Quick question. Is this animation like the Detective Pikachu animation?
No. It's interesting. So I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
So just to quickly go over the plot, Mewtwo Strikes Back follows mostly Mewtwo. He's a clone of the Pokemon Mew. He's created basically as a living weapon. He struggles to deal with existing. He's alive for like 3 seconds and he like immediately has an existential crisis. And I'm like, this is like, that's fair, buddy. And so he briefly works for Giovanni and Team Rocket before he realizes that they are using him as a tool. Mm-hmm. And so in revenge for having been created by humans only to just be used by humans, he creates this grand castle out in the middle of the ocean, invites trainers, including one Ash Ketchum, along with Misty and Brock, out to join him under the guise of fighting the world's greatest Pokemon trainer, at which point he kidnaps everyone's Pokemon, creates clones of them, and decides to prove that as clones they are superior and therefore destined to rule.
So Mewtwo is a clone of a previous Pokemon who realizes he's a clone, has an existential crisis, and flips out. At what point does he burn down Nibelheim and carry a 7-foot sword?
Different video game series.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, in terms of the animation, it's as if they took the anime and turned that into 3D. So it's still very cartoony, anime-ish, rather than the Detective Pikachu movie. Yeah, so Detective Pikachu did 3D CG Pokemon, but it did it in, what if Pokemon were in our world? Like, what would they look like realistically in the real world? This takes realistic textures and whatnot and like applies them to what is ostensibly still a very cartoony style. Both Detective Pikachu and Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution are like very, very successful in what they're individually trying to do, but they are not trying to do the same thing.
Okay, so the animation style for Mewtwo Strikes Back is more like an anime figure.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And they're really good at it. And the level of detail that you get in some of the animation in Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution is really good. Like for seemingly no reason. Like you look at like the Team Rocket uniforms. Classic white with the big red R on it. But the way that they're rendered, it's like, if you look really closely at Jessie's boots, you can see that it's got like a hard sole on it that like has fabric stretched over it. And if you look at the R on their chest, you can tell that that's a different fabric than the white fabric underneath of it. And that you can see that it's been stitched on. You can see that everything has like appropriate zippers in the right places and whatnot, that kind of thing. Like it still looks very anime, very cartoony, but I thought they did a really good job. There've been a lot of people online who are like, well, Detective Pikachu looks better. And I'm like, they're different.
Yeah,
like they're just different. Like
yeah. So it's like a different artist drawing the same thing.
Yeah. You know, you've seen Pokemon the first movie 20 years ago.
I saw Pokemon the first movie when I was either 18 or 19.
Okay.
Yeah, it was I'm 40. So it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was 9. So I've seen the original 2D Pokemon, the first movie, dozens of times at this point, because I'm a big Pokemon fan. I have 2 different Mewtwo tattoos at this point. Like, but like, I still thought this was like, it's really good. It's really faithful. They did like a new recording of like the really rad movie version of the anime theme song as well, which I liked a lot. I mean, the story's 20 years old, so I'm just gonna, I guess, spoil it. The scene in which Ash gets turned to stone and like all of the Pokemon cry for him, like Pikachu sobbing in like the 3D style. I was still just like, like just like having a full on like gross sob on my couch, because like that's just my relationship with Pokemon. I don't know that I would recommend this to anyone who's like not already a fan of Pokemon.
For someone who is, I like Pokemon. I'm not like getting tattoos or anything. I'm a person who likes Pokemon. I like anime, but you know, I take what recommendations from people that I trust.
Sure. This, if you liked Pokemon 20 years ago, this is going to hit a good nostalgia button for you.
Okay. All right. Did you watch it dubbed or subbed?
So I watched it dubbed. You can watch it subbed on Netflix as well. And the one sort of thing with the animation style being in 3D is that it's harder to dub it in English and make it look natural, because the shapes of the mouths are obviously like 3-dimensional rather than just 2D lip flaps. So there are moments where like it really looks like a dub rather than something that's naturally supposed to happen in the animation. So that sort of takes you out of it a little bit. So I would actually be interested in going back and rewatching it subbed. And it's nice that Netflix gives you that option.
Yeah, no. When was the last time you watched the first 2D movie? Because what I'm
like
curious,
a year ago.
Okay, so do you,
I have it on Blu-ray.
Do you remember the quality of the dub? Like, is this because this is a remake? Is it just a transfer, or did the actors come back and react the movie?
So here's the thing: is the original 4Kids cast for Pokemon that did the first movie is not the current cast of Pokemon. They have recast all of those roles over the years. So this is the current cast that's doing the English dub for the Pokemon anime.
Okay.
So it is a full, total top to bottom redub. And on top of that, because the lip flaps are different, and because some other little things are different as well, nothing significant, just a couple lengths of certain scenes, basically. So they had to do a total script rewrite in order to make this happen. So I have to imagine that that's part of the reason why that the dub for this took as long as it did, because usually they're pretty quick. It's usually only a couple of months with the 2D films. But because of all of the challenges in dubbing 3D animation, this came out last summer, and so this only hit Netflix within the last week as we are recording this. So
okay. All right.
Yeah. But that being said, I mean, again, if you've ever been into Pokemon, especially if you were into it in the late 90s when the first movie originally came out, like definitely give it a shot. Like, as a film, it's probably only like a 3 out of 5, but like for a Pokemon fan who's been in it this long, like, yeah, definitely watch it.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you all next time.
Thanks.
You're watching the Nerdpocalypse YouTube channel. Make sure you click that button to subscribe and check out our weekly podcast where we talk about movie, TV, news, tech, and weird stories from around the internet.